In this vlog, we will be exploring Old Montreal, including the infamous Notre Dame Basilica, Rue St Paul, Place Jean Cartier, Montreal City Hall, Boncouers Market, and Notre Dame de Boncouers Chapel. We will also swing by Victoria Square, Place des Armes, and other fascinating places along the way. After visiting Old Montreal, we will walk over to the Old Port of Montreal, plus the Grand and King Edward's Quay. We start our journey at Victoria Square. You can get there by taking the Orange Line Metro to Victoria OACI. Victoria Square is a town square and public space in the Quartier International de Montreal area of downtown Montreal at the intersection of Beaver Hall and McGill Street. Created during the 19th century, the square was named after Queen Victoria. The monument, dedicated to illustrious monarch, was the work of British sculptor Marshall Wood and was unveiled in 1872. The entrance to the metro station in the square bears an authentic Paris metro railing. The Art Nouveau casting was designed by Hector Guimard in 1900 and was offered to the city of Montreal by the city of Paris on the occasion of the 1967 World Exhibition. Prior to 2014, the metro, which was found on the Orange Line of the public transport system, was simply named Square Victoria. In 2014, the decision was then taken to rename the metro stop Square Victoria OACI in honor of the nearby headquarters of the International Civil Aviation Organization. Just a few blocks over from Square Victoria, you will reach Place des Armes and the infamous Notre Dame Basilica. Old Montreal is home to the city's most historic and newest attractions, providing an unbeatable glimpse into the city's lives throughout its extensive history. While the memory of Jean Mance, Jean Cartier, and de Maisonneuve can still be felt on the cobblestone streets, make up some of the city's most consistent and evolving dynamic quarters, with attractions ranging from cathedrals and museums to an observation wheel and river cruises. Old Montreal is distinct of contrast. Along the stately grace of the Notre Dame Basilica and Boncouers Markets awaits a wealth of cutting-edge design shops and forward-thinking restaurants. Meanwhile, the riverside pathways allure joggers and cyclists throughout the day and also packed with romantic strolling couples after the sun goes down. The area's beautiful buildings transforming nightly into glowing beacons and innovative lighting effects, and the modern Ferris wheel offers new vistas over a grand courtyard nearly 400 years in the making. For almost 400 years, travelers have oohed and awed at architectural beauties of Old Montreal and Old Port. Every turn of the corner reveals another timeless surprise. Place des Armes is a square in Old Montreal anchored by a monument in memory of Paul Descomdes, founder of Montreal. Buildings that surround it include the Notre Dame Basilica, St. Sulpice Seminary, New York Life Building, the Aldred Building, Bank of Montreal Head Office, and 500 Place des Armes. Place des Armes is the second oldest public site in Montreal. It was called Place à la Fabrique when it was first developed in 1693 at the request of the Sulpicans, that was later renamed Place des Armes in 1721 when it became the stage of various military events from 1781 to 1813, as it was used for hay and wood market, then developed into a Victorian garden after it was acquired from the city in 1836. The current dimensions of Place des Armes corresponds roughly to a plan begun in 1845 and completed in 1850, when Notre Dame Street was completed. It was not until the demolition of Notre Dame Church in 1830 and its bell tower in 1843 that the square would assume its current size. Notre Dame Basilica is a basilica in the historic district of Old Montreal. The church is located at 110 Notre Dame Street West. At the corner of St. Sulpice Street, it is located next to the St. Sulpice Seminary and faces the Place des Armes Square. The interior of the church is amongst the most dramatic in the world and is regarded as a masterpiece of Gothic Revival architecture. The vaults are colorized deep blue and decorated with golden stars, and the rest of the sanctuary is decorated in blue, azures, reds, purples, silvers, and gold. It is filled with hundreds of intricate wood carvings and religious statues. Unusual for a church, the stained glass windows along the walls of the sanctuary do not depict biblical scenes, but rather scenes from religious history of Montreal. Approximately 11 million people visit the Notre Dame Basilica every year, making it one of the most visited monuments in North America. In 2023, Notre Dame was named the 6th most beautiful building in the world by Angie, a home service publication which analyzes TripAdvisor reviews. Built from 1824 to 1829, Notre Dame Basilica was the first significant example of Gothic Revival style in Canada. In 1820, the parish of Notre Dame was led by a group of prominent Montreal merchants and by the Sulpicans, a powerful Roman Catholic religious order that had historically controlled the island of Montreal as its priests and lords. The Sulpicans wanted to build a new parish church that was more impressive than the recently built Roman Catholic and Anglican churches in the city. So they called on James O. MacDonald, an American Protestant architect, to build a church in the latest style. This resulted in a Gothic Revival style church named Notre Dame. The admission for Notre Dame Basilica is $15 per adult. It is highly worth visiting as it is really stunning inside. TripAdvisor is the world's largest travel guidance platform, helping hundreds of millions of people each month become better travelers from planning to booking to taking a trip. Travelers across the globe use the TripAdvisor site and app to discover where to stay, what to do, and where to eat based on guidance from those who have been there. With more than 394 million reviews and opinions of nearly 8 million businesses, travelers turn to TripAdvisor to find deals on accommodations, experiences, reservations on tables at delicious restaurants, and discover great places nearby. As a travel guidance company available in 43 markets and 22 languages, TripAdvisor makes planning easy no matter the trip. Here are some TripAdvisor tips on what to do in Old Montreal. SafetyWing's Nomad insurance is the world's first international travel insurance developed to meet the need of entrepreneurs and remote workers traveling or living abroad worldwide. It's the travel insurance that works for you around the world and covers COVID-19 or any other unexpected quarantine. If you want to have a sense of relief while traveling around the world, I would suggest getting SafetyWing's Nomad insurance. The link is in the description below if you want to find out more. 2 blocks down from the Basilica are Montreal City Hall and Place Jean Cartier. Make sure you stroll along St. Paul Street to get to Place Jean Cartier and Montreal City Hall. Come stroll along the oldest commercial street in Montreal. Its historic character is unrivaled, and its businesses are quite varied. Its heritage buildings promises terraces, art galleries, and special boutiques, as well as magnificent views. Through the heart of Old Montreal runs the city's oldest street, Rue St. Paul. Paved with cobblestones, this narrow street is one of the most interesting places to explore in the city and should be on every visitor's must-see list. This historic street starts out on the path that runs alongside the fort and commune from which the city first established its roots. The path was first paved back in 72. The street was named after the city's first founder, Paul de Chaume de Maisonneuve, who lived on the path himself in a house he built in 1650. Today, Rue St. Paul offers visitors to Montreal the chance to step back in time and experience the charm and atmosphere of old Europe as they stroll along the narrow cobblestone street. Rue St. Paul is a great place to spend a day for shopping at the many unique boutique shops and galleries, and it's definitely a refreshing change from the cookie-cutter franchise shops at malls. Not to be missed while shopping along this old street is the beautifully restored Boncouers Market, where you will find upscale boutiques and galleries with a focus on local goods and works of art. No stroll through Old Montreal would be complete without a stop at Place Jean Cartier, a lively spot steeped in heritage. A meeting place for centuries, Montrealers and visitors alike gather here to admire the view of Old Port, sit for a while at an outdoor terrace, take in a performance of the many street artists, and enjoy entertainment at every time of the year. In fact, one could say that Place Jean Cartier is at its most magical during the Christmas season. Today, Place Jean Cartier is filled with artists, artisans, portrait painters, and musicians. However, it offers more than just entertainment. History buffs appreciate the Nelson Monument, a 35-meter column erected in 1809, as well as the black pavement Chateau de Vaudreuil, former 18th century governor's mansion in New France. The flower stall in the middle is no coincidence. Obviously adds beauty and charm to the square. It is in fact a nod back to when the square used to be a public square, a vocation it held up until the middle of the 20th century. The broad divided street slopes steeply downhill from Montreal City Hall and Rue Notre Dame to the waterfront. During high tourist season, the street hosts many street artisans and kiosks. During Christmas season, the street is lined with lighted trees. At any time of the year, one can find restaurants on both sides of the street and many more on the surrounding streets of Rue St. Paul and Old Port. The 5-story Montreal City Hall is the seat of the local government in Montreal, Quebec. It was designed by architects Henri Brice-Perrot and Alexander Cowper Hutchinson, and and built between 1872 and 1878. In the Second Empire style, it is located in Old Montreal between Place Jean Cartier and Champ de Mars. As one of the best examples of the Second Empire style in Canada, and the first city hall to have been constructed in the country solely for municipal administration, it was designated as the National Historic Site of Canada in 1984. If you're not familiar with Quebec's past, it may be difficult to fully appreciate the historical and cultural significance of Old Montreal on your own. Gain a deeper understanding of local history, architecture, culture, food, and art, and take out the hassle of finding out your own way around the labyrinth cobbled streets on small group walking tours. You can also get insights from your local guide, as well as recommendations on places to eat, drink, and explore in Old Montreal. Check out some fantastic tours of Old Montreal in the description below. Expedia is one of the world's leading full-service online travel brands, helping travelers plan easily and book trips with the widest selection of vacation packages, flights, hotels, car rentals, cruises, activities, attractions, and services. No matter who you are or where you're going, Expedia helps every type of traveler not only find the trip that's right for them, but get the best value every time. Check out some Expedia deals below. After visiting City Hall, walk back down Place Jean Cartier to Rue St. Paul, and Montreal Market will be on your left. You can't miss it, as the building has one of the most recognizable exteriors in the city. Montreal Market is a two-story domed public market in Old Montreal. For more than 100 years, it was the main public market in the Montreal area. It also briefly accommodated the Parliament of United Canada for one session in 1849. Named for the adjacent Notre Dame Basilica chapel, it opened in 1847. During 1849, the building was used for a legislative assembly of the province of Canada. The market's design was influenced by Dublin's Custom House. Construction on this neoclassical building began in 1844 and was completed in 1847. It was completed by British architect William Footner, and alterations completed in 1816 were designed by Irish-born Montreal architect George Brown. Montreal Market also housed Montreal City Hall between 1852 and 1878. The former City Hall chambers later became a 3,700 square meter meeting room. The market building was also a venue for banquets, exhibitions, and other festivals. The building continued to house the Farmers Central Market until it was closed in 1963 and was slated for demolition. However, the building was later transformed into a multi-purpose facility with malls that house outdoor cafes, restaurants, and boutiques on the main and second floors, as well as a rental hall and banquet room on the lower and upper floors, as well as municipal office space. Montreal Market was designated as National Historic Site of Canada in 1984. The Notre Dame Basilica Chapel is a church in the district of Old Montreal. It's one of the oldest churches in Montreal. It was built in 1771 over the ruins of an earlier church. The church is located on 400 St. Paul Street East, just north of Boncouers Market. Saint Margaret Bourgeois, the first teacher of the colony of Ville-Marie, was the founder of the Congregation of Notre Dame, rallied the colonists to build a chapel in 1655. In 1673, returning from France, Bourgeois brought a wooden image of Our Lady of Good Help. The stone church was completed in 1678. Unfortunately, it burned down in 1754. The reliquary and statue were rescued and placed above the entrance of the rebuilt church of 1771. In the 19th century, the chapel became a pilgrimage site for sailors who arrived at the Old Port of Montreal. They would make offerings to the Virgin in gratitude for her good help for safe sea voyages. Emphasizing the connection of the chapel and the port, the chapel is often called the Sailors' Church. The NordVPN service allows you to connect to 5,230 plus servers in 56 plus countries. It secures your internet data with military-grade encryption and ensures your web activity remains private and helps bypass restrictions in internet-restricted countries. VPNs create an encrypted tunnel for your data and protect your online identity by hiding your IP address and allow you to use public Wi-Fi hotspots safely. NordVPN is perfect for digital nomads that need to connect to public Wi-Fi for work and will ensure that your privacy is safe online. Use my links to find out more about NordVPN and to get a free trial. Cruise Direct is a leading online travel company dedicated to providing customers with better deals than any other cruise website and access to great deals on cruise vacations. Cruise Direct offers special rates and savings on cruise bookings with some of the most popular cruise lines in the world, and every deal is backed by a price guarantee. You won't find these prices on any other cruise booking website. It's a cruise finder and booking site committed to helping you research all your cruise travel options to find a cruise that fits what you're looking for. Use my links to find last-minute cruises and to search for other outstanding cruises. If you walk a block down from the Notre Dame Basilica Market, you will get to the Old Port of Montreal. The Old Port of Montreal has something for everyone. In Quebec, this major tourist attraction draws more than 6 million visitors a year. The Old Port hosts a variety of cultural and entertainment activities, including food, sports, and music events, as well as outdoor festivals. It's also home to several popular attractions, including the Ferris Wheel of Montreal, the Old Port Skating Rink, the Montreal Zip Line, and many more. Located on a 2.5-kilometer stretch between Old Montreal and the St. Lawrence River, this historic site is a must-see for Montrealers and tourists alike, who can enjoy its beautiful view of the St. Lawrence River, green spaces, and lively programming. The Old Port also accommodates major events such as the Cirque du Soleil performances, Igloo Fest, Canada Day celebration, and New Year's festivities, which are held along the shores of the river. The Old Port site is home to a vast historical wealth deriving from the technological, industrial, port, and maritime spheres. The history of the Old Port of Montreal, an important Canadian heritage site, is an interest to all Canadians as well as many tourists who visit. The Old Port is an integral part of the historic district of Old Montreal. Located adjacent to Old Montreal, it stretches over 2 kilometers along the St. Lawrence River. It was used as early as 1611 when French fur traders used it as a trading post. The Old Port was redeveloped in the early 1990s under the direction of architects Aurélie Cardinal and Peter Rose. It is today a recreational and historical area that draws millions of tourists annually. Some of these sites that draw tourists include its infamous Ferris wheel, Lachine Canal, the Montreal Science Center with IMAX Theater, and its other quays such as King Edward Quay and the Grand Quay of Montreal. The Montreal Clock Tower, also known as the Sailors' Memorial Tower, is located in the borough of Ville-Marie and situated in the Old Port of Montreal. The construction of the tower began in 1919 and finished in 1922. The tower was 45 meters tall with 192 steps from the bottom to the top of the tower. It has 3 observation stops along the staircase, and the outside of the clock tower are white in color. The structure consists of a principal tower as well as a smaller tower that is 12 meters and architecturally similar to the main tower. The 2 towers are connected by a white 13-meter curtain wall. The tower consists of 4 translucent clock faces, each 3.7 meters in diameter, and were designed by English engineering firm Gillett and Johnston. The tower marks the entrance of the Old Port of Montreal and was erected and dedicated to the seamen who died in the First World War. It is a symbol of the port's economic contribution to the city of Montreal during the era of the clock tower's construction. La Grande Rue de Montreal is a Ferris wheel built at the Old Port of Montreal for the festivities of the 375th anniversary of the city. It was open to the public since September 1st, 2017, and is the tallest Ferris wheel in Canada. Construction costs of the La Grande Rue de Montreal, $28 million Canadian, and was paid by private investors. It is open daily to the public from 10 a.m. to 11 p.m. and admission grants you 20 minutes of use. Open all year round, rain or shine, this large observation wheel in Canada rises 60 meters tall above the Old Port and offers sweeping 360 degrees view spanning 28 kilometers on a clear day. Each of the 42 luxurious climate-controlled gondolas comfortably sits up to 8 people. Anti-UV tempered glass panes on all sides offer an exceptional vantage of the city's iconic sights. There's even a VIP cabin with glass floors. There is no better place in the city to get a night view of the city of Montreal than on this observation wheel. Adult admission costs $23 per person, child admission is $18 per person, student admission is $20 per person, and senior admission is $20 per person. Please note that these prices might have changed since the recording of this video. Tickets has brought millions of people to museums and attractions around the world with their instant and intuitive mobile booking technology. Every day, Tickets works with thousands of renowned museums, thrilling attractions, and hidden gems to offer unforgettable travel experiences. Use my links to get tickets to top attractions in Montreal. Cotopaxi is guaranteed for good, built to last, sustainably sourced, and ethically made. The company stands behind their products, which is one of the reasons why they have received more than 2,000 plus 5-star reviews. Their products are durable by design. If there's a problem, they'll make things right. Cotopaxi is well known for their Alpa travel pack. They have a 28-liter, 35-liter, and 42-liter travel pack, along with duffel bags, which come in 50-liter and 70-liter sizes. If you need a travel backpack, I'll leave a link to them in the description below so you can get started on your backpacking journey. The King Edward Wharf is the third of the 4 major high-level wharfs to be built. Construction began in 1901 and was completed in 1903. Measuring 91 meters wide, the wharf was originally supposed to be 305 meters long. In 1907, almost the entire area was occupied by 4 large 2-story maritime hangars, leaving only the end free of any structure. In addition to being used for storage, these sheds supported the remarkable system of conveyors that linked the docks and grain silos and allowed the high-speed loading and unloading of grain. During the 1920s, the Old Port of Montreal was renowned as the most active port in the world in the export of grain. In order to better respond to these needs, the Harbor Commissioners continued the expansion program in 1910. The King Edward Wharf was extended by 75 meters between 1922 and 1926. Following the opening of the St. Lawrence Seaway in 1959 and the relocation of the port activities to Montreal's east end, the Old Port experienced a drop in traffic. In 1981, this part of the Old Port was decommissioned. Since its opening in 2000, the Montreal Science Center has helped shape the minds by promoting curiosity and discovery in today's youth and of course the young at heart. Astounding, funny, and surprising exhibitions and activities hosted at the Montreal Science Center and captivating 3D films presented at the center's IMAX theater helps visitors of all ages acquire an understanding of different subjects about science and technology. All this delightful science is presented in a way that is accessible for all, using interactive devices in an innovative environment, educational and entertaining. Adult admission to the Science Center is $23 per person, child admission is $18, and senior admission is $21. Fees are subject to change. Fresh and modern, the Port of Montreal's Grand Quay offers updated maritime infrastructures alongside unique contemporary spaces designed for the enjoyment of Montrealers, cruise passengers, and tourists alike. The promenade on the Grand Quay roof boasts over 24,000 flowering and aromatic plants and an immense wooden terrace from which to breathe it all in. The beauty of the flora is only matched by the impressive view of Montreal, the Old Port, and cruise ships as they sail down the St. Lawrence River. Marine and history enthusiasts can while away for hours at the port center and discover the port's timeline, which is closely linked to the development of Montreal. The Grand Quay is also home to an observation tower from which you can have a great and stunning view of the city and the river. Both Old Montreal and the Old Port of Montreal are full of history and things to do, so you should have no problem spending a whole day here split between these 2 points of interest. This will wrap up my Montreal travel series. Join me on my travels as I visit Toronto and Muskoka next.